Daryl said before, my name is Leela. I'm 17. I'm here from California with my sister Sonali. We're part of a program called Beyond Differences. It's a nonprofit organization, and what we do is we work to end social isolation in middle schools. So our organization focuses more on social isolation than bullying directly, because we have found that it is often a precursor to bullying. We're working to ensure that bullying is prevented even before it happens by first teaching middle school students to be aware, both physically and mentally, about what exclusion looks like in different social settings, in order to then stop it from escalating into bullying later on. So my own personal story with social isolation is that when I was in middle school, I had a best friend, and we did everything together. We were really close, we've been friends for a long time, and I had no reason to think that the transition from elementary school to middle school would change anything in our friendship. But as time went on, I felt that she was kind of drifting away. She started dressing differently, acting differently, hanging around with the more popular crowd at school, and I didn't know how to handle that, so I didn't talk to her about it at all. And then one day at lunchtime, I noticed that she went over and sat down with her new friends. And we had always eaten lunch together, every single day. So I decided to approach their table, because I thought that she would introduce me to her new friends, or at least move over so I could sit down next to her. But as I approached, I noticed that they all started laughing and whispering between themselves. And as I looked at her in confusion, she just stared at me like she had no idea who I was. And she said, "Go away, no one wants you here." And so I did. I walked away, and we didn't talk much after that. And I think looking back on it, I didn't know how to address what I was feeling. I didn't know how to talk about the pain I was in with other people. So then a few months after that, a nonprofit organization called Beyond Differences came to my school and did an assembly where high school students came and talked about their experiences with social isolation, and that's when I realized that that's what that was. I had been socially isolated. And so then that's when I joined Beyond Differences. I was in 6th grade, and now this is my 6th year, in my senior year of high school. So just to give a little background information about Beyond Differences, there are about 63 high school teen board members on the Beyond Differences. And basically what we do is we give assemblies at middle schools where we share our own experiences of either having been socially isolated ourselves, socially isolating another peer, whether intentionally or unintentionally, or realizing that someone was being socially isolated and not doing anything about it, so being a bystander. Then we invite the middle schoolers to share their own experiences with social isolation, and this is where I think it becomes really clear just how many kids are affected by this. I mean, I've been in rooms where literally every single middle schooler has raised their hand when asked how many of you have ever been socially isolated. And while they may be tentative at first, by the end of the assemblies, we usually have a lot of people raising their hands, and it does tend to get very emotional. And it's truly alarming because it's also important to take into account that it's not only like an immediate social impact on the kids, it's also a physical and mental impact. And in fact, the US Surgeon General himself has said that the #1 health crisis in America, especially for young people, is not cancer or heart disease, but isolation. And in middle school, especially, I think that why social isolation is such a big issue is because middle school is such a socially awkward time for a lot of kids. I know it was for me. There are a lot of new physical and emotional changes happening, and you don't know how to deal with it. And this is why a lot of the time, kids don't even intentionally isolate their peers. Many times it's simply because they don't know what to say or what to do. They don't know how to express what they're feeling, which then can lead to bullying in the form of physical or verbal aggression. So what we do besides presenting during the assemblies is that we hold various workshops and retreats for middle school students where we help them learn how to start a conversation, maybe get over the initial nervousness of talking to someone they've never talked to before, give them communication tips, things like that. We also have several important campaigns that we use as focus points to explain like the main settings where social isolation commonly occurs. So we have no one needs alone for isolation in schools, especially during lunchtime. Then we have Call It Out campaign, which is anti-cyberbullying. And then we have Know Your Classmates, which is like a cultural inclusion campaign. And Sonali will talk about those two later on. I'm going to tell you a little bit about No One Needs Alone. So No One Needs Alone is actually a nationally recognized day now. This year we had 3,500 schools take part in it, even some in Georgia. And which is crazy because when I joined in 6th grade, we only had 7 schools participating. So what we do during No One Needs Alone is basically we send backpacks out to all the schools. And in the backpacks are things like wristbands, icebreakers, games, other little interactive activities with which we challenge kids to go out of their comfort zone and try having a conversation with someone they don't know very well. And what this does, I think, is to show them that really it's not hard. Because it's not very difficult to go over to someone and just say hi. How difficult is it to say hi? You know? So the act of saying hi itself and the conversation that will take place afterwards, that's not the hard part. The hard part is seeing that kid sitting alone. Imagine yourself sitting with a group of friends that you always eat lunch with, and you're sitting there and you see a kid sitting alone. The hard part is making that decision to get up and walk over and act with intention and tell them, hello, my name is blank, and invite them to come sit with you and your friends. And while it may feel a little bit awkward or uncomfortable at first, you need to realize just how much awkwardness and nervousness they have in here being socially isolated. And it may seem like a small thing to say hello. But for a kid who's isolated, who has no one to talk to, no one to eat with, who sits all alone in the corner of the cafeteria, seeing all the other kids chatting and laughing around him, one hello is everything. And many of the team board members, including myself, have been that kid at some point. We know how that feels, and that's why we're on the team board. And so this is what we share with middle schoolers. We share our experiences, we share our knowledge, we share our hopes for the future of middle school culture, so that with our support, the students can work towards ending social isolation in their own community, one kid at a time.